From the high plains of the Midwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever your time zone might be. My nod to the late and great Art Bell. I'm Keith Sharp.
And I'm G. Dressel.
And we welcome you to Life After Life, a paranormal webcast where we talk about the paranormal, UFOs, or the unexplained. And the biggest question of them all, what happens when we die? Stay tuned. Hey, with the monkeys. How funny. You know what? You know what happened? No, I'll show you what happened. I'll show you what happened.
Dean's on. Therefore, that's look,
we got two overlays.
Dean's on. He's his. No.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
It's a good thing we don't work for Coast to Coast. We'd be fired.
Wow.
But hey, how is everybody?
Like 106 shows in.
I know. 106 shows, we still screw it up.
That's
So
right.
that's what we do. It wouldn't be the same.
Hey, Red
In fact,
Feather.
when we do our live show, when we do this live event, which we're going to bring Dean in for,
it has to be.
we should do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Make it look like we're,
No, I kind of want to put you on the spot. Be like, okay, actually, hey, they're not going to do it. Keith, you actually have to do it. Like right before the show starts. And like, what the hell? Make you do the intro.
That would suck. Okay, well, we've got the great Dean McMurray from coast to coast, all over the world, right?
Oh, man.
The most famous medium in the world. And here he comes. Boom.
There he is.
Hey, Dean.
Hey, guys.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you guys.
So good.
Thanks for coming
on. Good to see you, Keith, upright. That's good to see.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you watched the last few shows, but I've given you credit on. Hey, you play guitar. I see a guitar back there.
Yeah, I'll get box back there.
Yeah, we should jam something real quick. I'll go get my guitar.
When he's
you don't want to hear me play. I'm terrible.
But like I said, the last two shows, Dean, I've been telling everybody that you and I had been talking off air when I was going through this back problem, and and you know what's weird, dude, is the day before you contacted me to ask me how I was feeling, because you had a feeling I felt better. The day before that, like about that night, that pain started going away. Even before you started working on me, it was almost like it was weird. And that's the reason I asked you that. It's like, how did you feel? I mean, what gave you? Because Garrett told me, hey, Dean's asking about you, right? Or
something. I think it was like that day or something. He said, hey, I'm getting a funky vibe, something like that with Keith. How's the big guy? And I was like, funny you should ask. I think you should definitely check on him, Dean. Wow, funny you should ask. Weird.
But Dean, I went to two specialists. I went to a doctor.
I knew Dean was on to
something. I went to a pain management doctor. I had my MRIs done. It shows some bulging discs, but they were just slight. And the back doctor said, really, this isn't enough to keep you in this much pain. So they didn't know what it was. But
Dean was
thank you, Dean.
It's some crazy what energy can do, right?
Oh, man.
What we can become imbalanced in weird ways and just cause
Dean
all
said I was all messed up.
Well,
it was a mess back in there.
Yeah,
I was all up in your back.
Yeah.
Dean sends me. He goes, dude, have you been in a horrible car accident? I've been in 5 car accidents.
Well, and to be fair, like I know when I was in my really bad one, right? Like flipped my car.
You about died
6 times into a tree. But I do remember like that is essentially when you were describing it to me, it sounded like you had been in a damn car wreck. And I know that feeling, right?
That's what it felt like.
I had it when I had COVID really bad. And I was like, I feel like I've been hit by a car. Like I meant it.
That was horrible.
So that's kind of wild how you describe it, though, Dean. Like being so far away. Especially.
So if anybody wants a reading, pop in. So Dean, somebody may call in, someone may not. We can just chat, whatever.
That works. We haven't chatted in a long time.
It got crazy.
We've touched base. I mean, I've been working on you, Keith, and Garrett. Every once in a while, I'd touch base with you, but we haven't really chatted. Just Yes,
No.
and you were saying, Garrett, that you had a paranormal experience.
Yeah, tell.
Well, do you want to hear about it?
I'll sit back.
Well, it's kind of fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It's interesting.
Well, and I asked Keith.
He called me just.
Yeah. Keith I talked to, this is kind of weird, but my wife was on the phone when it happened. Shortly after that, the next person was actually my attorney. He's like how Don Corleone, he has like his
consigliere.
Yeah, consigliere. Yeah. I also have a consigliere. I trust very, very much. And then I called my business partner, and I talked to my parents, which I never talk to my parents about these things ever. We don't talk about, we're Catholic. So that
sums it up.
Yeah. And so and I called Keith immediately after. So you're on the short list. Yeah.
Well, I felt honored.
And okay, so I'm just prefacing it with that because this was a deep, really kind of it's a wild experience. So Dean, my twin brother, passed away on December 4th of last year, right? That's coming up. And I was telling Keith, like on that day, and maybe from having a disabled brother that, twin brother specifically, I was born into this world that was normal to me. So maybe, I never wanted to like outwardly show my parents that if I was upset or something, right? Because I knew that was a burden. I could tell from a young age that was difficult having 4 boys and Nathan, right?
Yeah.
So I just grew up like that. And so even to the point when I was in the Army, they were like, are you okay? Like you never get like worked up like in stressful situations, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I would never outwardly show it. And so on the day Nathan passed away, I felt like something was physically ripped out of my heart, right? And it was like a sniper. I bet if there was a door cam somewhere, like I've told my wife that. I wish I could see it because it was like I got hit by a sniper rifle. I distinctly remember I fell face first, and I'm a big dude. Like you guys have only seen me on. I'm like a Bigfoot.
He is a Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
I'm like constantly breaking things, blah blah blah. So I hardly ever fall because I'm Bigfoot. They don't fall.
Yeah. And
I fell that day face first. Had snot in my beard, grass. I distinctly remember it being like sobbing for the first time, and I don't remember the last time I had cried, honestly. So it was an interesting day. Obviously, we went and we're with Nathan and the family. That evening, after my family's very close, we had by that time gotten it together, right? That night, the kids went to bed. We do the holidays hardcore at my house, so it was around Christmas. A whole wall of lights were behind my wife, and I had a light right by me. And as we were talking about Nathan, and not crying, not emotional at all, we noticed that the light next to me was vibrating the brightest I had ever seen in my life. And it was like a heartbeat, like very soft and calm, nothing spectacular. And my wife's like, "Did you notice that?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." And as I said that, all the Christmas lights behind her started doing the same thing, and a heartbeat and rhythm. And it was just this sense of, it was the most insane feeling I had ever felt in my life. I told my wife at the time, this is kind of like a weird thing, and I guess we are on a show called Life After Life, but love the show Intervention. No, that's kind of a weird thing to like, but there's a show called Intervention. Have you seen it, Dean?
I have not. I've heard of it, but I have not.
People get super addicted to drugs, and they have an intervention, try to save them. I have seen like all 23 seasons. Super crazy, I know. So, but I told my wife, like with the heroin addicts, they always say the first time they had heroin, it felt like they were in heaven. Like they can't describe it, and so they spend their lives chasing that feeling, right? And so I'm sitting there. I'd look at my wife while this is happening, this moment, and I tell her, I said, I see why people become drug addicts. And she's like kind of taken back, but immediately like, oh yeah, like, cause she was feeling it too. That's what was crazy. It was so euphoric. It was so amazing and transcending. And I said, good thing we don't have control over this. It's nothing you can chase, and otherwise I would go buy it and be poor and live on a street because I can understand that. I would always want that. I would love that. Feel like heaven, man. And so we continued into the night to talk. It continued for hours. Anytime the conversation, because I'm so tied to my work, I feel like I do it for really good reasons. And so anytime it would go to that, and it would be like come financial or something like that, everything would stop. And my wife actually noticed it, and she said, it's not about that, right? It's about the work you do is about, I was like, yeah, we need it though. Like we need money to like make this work and to fund things. It would stop. You know? And so that went away. It never happened again. I went on, coached in Spain, had one of the best moments of my career. Winners catapulted us into this new future. Not saying I did. I thought about Nathan every day. I never cried again. Didn't even cry at his funeral. It was really weird. And so we go through all this stuff, you know, all this year, this growth, this pain, some crazy things in the business happened. And we go through a hurricane, you know, we're there. My wife's there for a job, which is insane in itself.
Yeah.
To the trajectory of her and her work. And so we come back, and I have been just struggling in this moment of my business and this huge transition we're doing. Something we've talked about, Dean, early on. I was like, hey, man, I'm going through this huge thing last spring. And so it's still going, by the way. And so I have a meeting Friday night, and it's a huge meeting. It goes really well. I'm just so blessed and humbled in this meeting. And on the way down, the weirdest thing happened. I like look at this guy, and I said, hey, man, did you know I have a twin brother that passed away? He goes, yeah. And I goes, hey, that lady wrote an article. And we got on the elevator. That was it. Ding. We like, all right, cool. See you tomorrow. Leave. I never talk about my family in meetings. I don't, because it's about business. I was like tired of talking about, everyone wants to talk about my family around here in my industry. And I said, I don't want to talk about it. So it was weird that I did that. On the way home, I called my wife. I was so excited about this meeting. Everything clicked into place. It was amazing. What I've been working for 13 years, boom, happened. And I'm telling her this. And I mentioned something I can't say on the air because it's still tied up. But it's something about the name of what I do. And the fact I tell her, I say, it's about more than that. It's about more than that. And the craziest thing happened. I literally started bawling like a baby. Like I started crying. Not like when I got hit by a sniper rifle. Not that kind of crying. That was pain. This was something more. I like felt like the hand of God reached into my chest in that moment. It was the weirdest thing. Super weird too. It was like overcast because it's been shitty weather lately. But the sun in that moment, the sunset again was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And I'm like driving by this huge tower, industrial tower down here. To me was remarkable. And my wife's just on the other line. And for somebody that never cries, you know, I figured she'd be like, hey, honey, I need to call your mom or your somebody like, do I need to call, get you in? But you know, she knew, she felt it too. She felt that energy that we had connected on when my brother passed away. And I just continued to cry, maybe for 10 minutes, 12 minutes until I got into my neighborhood. And I was speaking the whole time. I was like, we had struggled. I just released all this stuff. And I told her, I said, I feel like he's like guiding, like he was so happy when I finally broke free, right? That he wanted to remind me of it. And I'm getting chills now. I did cry when I told my parents again, because I knew that would be emotional for them. And it's crazy in hindsight. I didn't tell you this because maybe I did. I felt like 20% of that same energy that I felt when I was willing, 20% of that when I was telling my parents. We didn't even look at each other. We couldn't. Again, we're Catholic. We couldn't. We don't. But we're also like.
Is that something in the Catholic?
Well, no, it's just like my family. Like we're just how we are too. We're blue collar. Like German immigrants. It's not something we do. Like we don't cry around each other. So, it wasn't normal behavior, right? Like my parents would not see me anything but upbeat and positive, no matter what. I could have my back in the corner, literally of any situation. And they were saying in Cancun, they're like, or in Cabo, they're like, luckily your husband's so calm right now. And I was like, guys, what's the worst thing that could happen? A mudslide? But like I was putting on, we don't do that. So, but I felt that energy that was saying, it's okay. It's okay. Tell your parents. Tell them about that experience you had the night he died, which is not something I had mentioned to them. I said, well, obviously I haven't been watching the show to my parents because I was like, I've talked about it like 7 times on the show, y'all. So, but it's something but we don't talk about it. And you know what my dad said was so interesting? He said, he won't mind me saying this, something we talk about. I have talked about you with my parents though, by the way, because the first time we met in the old studio, you nailed it on my Papa George. Like things that were like, okay, like you got to know Pablo to know that, you know? And so, but it was just this remarkable kind of experience that I haven't been able to shake. Yeah, I don't know.
Your brother's energy?
That energy specifically. And I talked about it with my kid, man, when I got home, Kennedy, and my wife, obviously. I got home, got the little ones out of the way. You know, she's been around everything. Tornadoes wiped our whole business away at one point. Kennedy's been through it all. So I had her in there. And my wife looked at me, and you raised a really good daughter, man. She's really incredible. She said, well, first off, she puts up with me. It's not easy.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah, but I said to her, she said, why do you think this happened? And I said, I think that my brother was giving me, we had never talked in 37 years. We never spoke one word to each other. Not one word. And we were so connected. Like hardcore, man. And I said, I think he's showing me the difference between pain and happiness, true pain and true happiness. Like my intuitive senses. I feel like he wanted me to respond to that. He wanted me to take a second and because people have been telling me so much lately, follow your gut. You have an idea, go for it. Like people that I really, really trust, that I go to for advice, go for it. Follow your gut. What are you doing? So I feel like that was the moment he said, boom. If you feel anything on this scale, follow your gut. Now then, don't forget the sniper rifle to your head. Because if you feel anything on that scale, that's the other side of it. That's the yes and the no in your life. And I man, some weird shit's even happened since then with like fortunes. And I read and keep every fortune. I literally do for my whole life. I can go through a little catalog. I wonder if it works. I wonder if you get weird fortunes when shit like this happens in your life, because the fortunes I've been getting were all in line of what me and my wife were talking about that night, which is super bizarre. So not that I eat that much Chinese food. I'm just saying I have a family of 5. You get a lot of fortunes in one meal. So it was like 4 out of the 5 were like, okay, that's super weird that we just opened that. Right. And so there it is, Dean. That's what happened to me.
That's very cool. That's so awesome. I love the aspect of when you connect to that pure love energy, right? And it's just like you're crying, you're just that raw emotion. And it's like, it doesn't mean that I'm messed up. It just means that you connect to the feeling of pure love. You're reconnected, right? And I had a very similar experience like that a couple times, and I'm like, wow, if that isn't the epitome of unconditional love, I don't know what is, you know. And like you summarized it really well, Garrett, was the experience of what we would call heaven, right? Just pure love, like
bliss.
Nothing like a bliss, like chasing the next energy hit, right? Like, oh my God, I want that. And why wouldn't you, you think about this, put it in the aspect of a soul. So we're in an accident, we're in a traumatic event, and we cross to the other side and feel all this bliss. And yes, we love our families and everything else,
right?
But to reconnect with that love, with access that that's hard.
And wouldn't that put into perspective, like, you're good down there. Let me just touch in real fast, because out of my control, I never chased it again. It never happened again, which was even more remarkable. And I've told a couple of people, like, doing this show has been just so groundbreaking on so many levels for me, having these discussions with you guys. Like, I mean, come on, like, for a spiritual dude, like, this is incredible stuff to be able to talk about it. But I know from talking to ghost hunters and mediums and Keith and all this stuff is that that's actually very rare. Like, for me to experience that again, to reference the first one. How rare is that? I hope I never have to do it again.
Yeah.
And I get it. I'm like, of course, why would you? And we said it that night he died. My wife was like, I mean, for a show, this is a really good one. I said, the guy's never spoken a word. His access, his energy, boom, he's coming in. He's coming in hot. Nate was like, it was like a party in there. Holy shit. Like, this is nuts.
Yeah, he was severely disabled.
Yes.
I mean,
yes. And you know, the priest who actually, God bless him, he's actually has a very aggressive brain tumor and has had to step down as being a priest, which is nuts, right? He gave one of the, he summed up in very few words something so powerful about Nathan. And it's that because of his condition, his survival depended on everybody else. So like if you were around Nathan, you had to pay attention. His survival depended on it. He made you do selfless service, like Aunt Deborah.
Yeah.
Right. Like your sister. She worked with him, remembered him years later.
Yeah.
All these people remembered Nathan who never spoke. And
just one of those big coincidences. My sister was a nurse years ago, and this is before Garrett even entered our family. And my sister had taken care of his stepbrother, or I'm sorry, his your twin brother. Yeah. And
oh wow,
we didn't even know each other, you know. And so our
Christmas, like 10
our
years
paths
later,
collide.
yeah,
yeah.
I knew Nate the Great.
Yeah, my sister's going, I knew your brother. We took care of him.
Yeah,
yeah.
And what so selfless service, which is what I do. My whole life is surrounded by that. I mean, my wife's nonprofit takes, you know, near life or last critical ill kids, right? That's what she does. She takes end of life pictures for kids, and so like. He's guided us and so many other people. And so it's just remarkable. So to feel that was like, I understood that, like, I think his soul's on a different level. I always thought that. What soul exists that doesn't speak, doesn't move? We see athletes and dancers and performers and artists and orators and writers. And he did none of that and had such a profound effect. That has to be a different level of soul, right? So why would you stick around? I was like, he was like, peace out. No.
But I think it's also, I mean, Dean, don't you think our loved ones after they pass on, when we have wonderful things happen, can celebrate with us on the other side? You know, it's like,
are we connected energy?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. 100%. You know,
just dialed in, right?
They're connecting. Yeah, for sure. And, you know, trying to encourage others to step into their gift areas, you know, be of service to other people. I mean, we're always, and as a species, I think we're always looking for our purpose, right?
For sure.
We know that there's something innately bigger for us. There's, you know, how many people have you heard that saying, I don't know if what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm looking for something more. And for some of us, we walk around all our lives trying to find what that is.
Yeah.
Trying to go, you know, is this it? Is, you know, working at jobs or doing things that doesn't serve us at deeper levels. But yeah, I totally believe that. And obviously, you know, I help clients connect to that aspect of, you know, getting validation for that or seeking information around that. But yeah, I think that's so powerful, Garrett, you know, and thanks for sharing that, because I think it's a great reminder to us all that, you know, that love, that connection is there for us all, not just, I mean, for you, for your, you know, your brother, but, you know, that love from the universe, from God, whatever label you want to use is always there for us to connect to. And, you know,
that's exactly what my dad said, which I thought was super interesting.
Mm.
He said, like, and I mean, essentially almost the same thing. He's like,
is your dad a closet psychic? Maybe.
Hey, he could be. He could be. Oh, well, what I was going to say earlier is, you know, and then I'll let Mel hop on, but he actually mentioned that my Mimi, after my papa had passed away, they've been married forever. And she was hearing him laugh and giggle when she was changing channels after he passed away. And Papa George, the guy you connected with, changing channels, and, you know, for super Catholic, like she went to confession and didn't confess because she said she didn't sin. Like, that's how Catholic she is. is that she was just telling everybody about it, and my dad was like shared that with me, like if it's faith, right? That's God at work, the universe at work, something at work, and he goes like the connection is faith, and so that was really profound. But thank you, and we can circle back. I think Mel.
Yeah, we got someone waiting for a reading
Oh,
here.
yeah,
so
let's do it.
I believe this is Steve. Hello, Steve. Can you hear me, Steve?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. All right.
Hey, welcome, Steve. What's your question?
My question is, my mother passed 5 years ago, October 29, 2018. And recently, within probably about a year and a half ago, Melinda, my fiance, she had a spiritual experience from my mother who she's never met.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what is my mother trying to say to me through Melinda.
Okay. Can I ask Steve really quick, did your mom pass from like did she have something going on with her stomach? Did she have Oh, go ahead.
It was actually her spine. So she had spinal surgery, a replacement, a rod put in and all that to rebuild her spine, which was collapsed. She was in such pain, suffering, that even the medication wasn't helping any longer. So she had this operation, and unfortunately, 5 days later, she became infected. She had sepsis and and she passed, and I was there while she passed. So she was in the hospital, and I got a call from my my brother saying, you need to come out. Mom is declining, and in the hospital room, my brother and sister they couldn't stay. They just couldn't watch it, but I had to stay there and watch. And they called the code on her, and I stayed and watched her pass them trying to save her, and I knew it was going to happen.
Sure. Well, first I want to say sorry for your loss. Cancer is a sucky ass, in my opinion, a disease that is just nobody deserves.
Yeah, well, it wasn't cancer. It was just a collapsed spine. It was surgery.
Oh, it's just a collapsed spine. Okay.
Yeah. So
sorry, my misunderstanding.
It was surgery, and she, due to her age, she.
Oh wow.
Didn't survive, post surgery. She, like I said, she got an infection and septic passed.
Well, whether it was cancer or not, the thing is anytime it affects the bones or like the spine, right? It's always difficult. But getting back to, I think you mentioned your fiance Melinda having this paranormal experience of interaction with your mother, is that the message that she's sharing is that first and foremost is talking about letting her know is that that she approves of her, and that really wanting to let her know, kind of you think of the ladies of ice, right? So if you bring all the mothers together and try to pass down, if you will, the wisdom, I guess, a lack of better words, right? So it's like, here's some things to remember as you're going forward, right? And it's really kind of that support of your fiance. But I'm just trying to listen real quick. Have you guys set a date that's kind of out there a ways? I want to say, is it 2 years? Or you guys, or is this sooner than that?
So we are together 2 years. December 26th, we're together 2 years now.
Okay. So because I did see the number 2, and so how have you guys set a date for your wedding?
We haven't set a date yet. We are both planning. It'll be sometime 2024 next year, but the date is not set at the moment.
Right.
And technically technically speaking, we're both in the middle of our divorces, so that has to be done first. Yes.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. So there's a lot of things to finish. A lot, obviously, you know that blind psychic could tell you that, right? With the divorce, but the thing that I would also share is that I do feel like a spring, early summer wedding, and it's interesting because it correlates with your mother in some way. Does your mom have a summer birthday in there?
Yes, my mother's birthday is August 21st.
Okay, so that'd be more late. I guess in my analysis would be late summer, but okay, possibly. So there's something there that correlates with her that I feel that will be serendipitous to you all. But I think that's the thing, is trying to give you guys not only her but also you. And it's because the reason that she came to her is she's so much more an empath, meaning being able to feel and sense. So because you're kind of, as she says, involved, your mind kind of I'm being shown the hamster wheel, right? So you're like you must have your list and everything else going on. So you're busy right now. So that's the thing that she's sharing, is that she came to her to kind of, hey, everything's going to be all right. You just need to bide your time. And she's here to give her thumbs up of approval, and, and just talk about the forthcoming wedding here in 2024. And that also comes with a move. Am I also understanding that correctly?
So yes, we recently moved May, and where we live right now happens to be just about 5 minutes away from where mother and father are buried. And Melinda has taken, the first step really in going to the gravesite and visiting on a regular basis. I've never done that until with Melinda, so I'm really thankful for that. So yeah, we're a few miles away from the cemetery, and so this is where we're placed now. And the good news is we are having a baby. Melinda is due January 5th, so we're having a child. And,
congratulations!
And I know my mother, it would be smiling in heaven all over that. She loves family and children. And
know that she is. Know that she's celebrating with you guys. She's so excited for you guys as well. So
Steve, you're Italian, right?
Excuse me?
You're Italian, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. The family thing, right?
Yes, it is. Very much a family thing.
All right. Well, Steve, thanks so much, man, for calling in.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Dean.
Take care, Steve.
Good night, Steve.
Night.
Good night. Good night, Garrett. Good night.
See you.
Yes.
Man, since day one, Mel.
Yeah. That's her.
She's
that's her
awesome.
fiance. She's been with us from day one. One of our fans, but
great. I'm so happy for them.
So Dean, if my friend comes through, just let me know. No,
well, it's interesting. Because you mentioned that you lost
2 weeks ago.
To cancer, and it was interesting because one of the things that I kept on hearing in the beginning was I kept on hearing like music, and I was like pulled in, and I was like, well, that's like Beatle music. That's clearly Beatle music, right there. And I was like, oh, and I was like, the band's getting back together. He was like, tell Keith, like, the band's coming back together. We're getting band back together. So
it's funny you say that, because when I lose somebody, I'll kind of pray to them, or I'll try to speak to them telepathically or whatever. And I told him, I said, listen, I go, we'll play again, have a good amplifier warmed up for me, and we'll start jamming.
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that, because when he says the band back together again, that makes total sense to what I said to him.
Yeah.
Have an amplifier ready, buddy.
Yep. There you go.
So
That's fantastic.
one thing I wonder too, Dean, he was a very, very private person. And we may have talked about this, and forgive me if we have, but do we retain, you think, our personalities on the other side?
Well,
is this an identity that we make, that we're making, that we're working for towards the other side? Or
I think that begins and ends with this meat suit, right? So like what you're interacting with, when I cross over, I leave it with this. But when I come back, Keith, when I come back and interact with, or spirit does, they come back and they take on just enough evidential information. So, you know, remind, because I have no idea who your friend is. I have no idea. You know, when we talk about Steve and his mom, I've never met his mom. You know, other people, I've never met them. So I have no clue, but I have to understand enough that I can describe to somebody how their mannerisms or their personalities. And so spirit has to be able to convey that in a certain way. So I understand that, so I can convey it to the person that's, you know, sitting before me. And so, so I believe that when we go back into spirit form, truly we're emanating, and Garrett talked about it. Maybe this is the underlying message of the show, but where we go back to that pure form of love. Like truly, if we think of heaven, that is all that exists. But when we come back to communicate or interact, we're doing so with what we understand. You know, like if I was to cross over, like, oh, hey, I remember Dean, this goofball, like, you know, and my mannerisms, like, yep, that's totally Dean, like, you know, so those ways of, so in a sense, taking on that personality again, just enough so you understand, but interacting with us in a way that, if
that makes total sense. Yeah, I should
that
figure
is
that
my
out.
that is my understanding of it, anyways.
I remember when I first heard the word like omnipresent, omnipotent, right? And that's like all knowing, all being, right? And so if that is what I felt, right, whenever I had that moment, if that's what heaven is, could a spirit, because I've seen this, and it may have happened with me, like when you gave me my first reading and you nailed it, and there may have been like one or two things though that I was like, wait a second, and it made me go to my Mimi and ask questions, right? Or do you think that spirit would bring back certain characteristics that are enough to validate one person and then put in some things? I can't remember what it was, but along the lines that would drive me to go ask my Mimi questions, right? And open up that dialogue. Does that make sense? Like I've
very
seen it,
possibly.
I've
seen crazier things, and so I would not. I wouldn't put it past spirit to do that. Be like, hey, you need to go talk to your, in your case, your Mimi,
right,
or whomever else, right? And saying, so we're gonna tell Dean what to say, and that's gonna trigger you or make you, you know,
he did what after he did what after the army? I think that's what it was. Is like you said something, I was like, wait, he did that, and I had to go. But it would be like I'd seen readings before where they're like, I'm getting like this taste of whiskey, you know, and the lady is on the other side, and they're like, he didn't drink very much, and then the grandma's like, oh, he drank a lot more than you know what I'm saying? So like it would like open up this door that wasn't previously open. Does that make sense? I hope I'm wording that correctly. No, I'm saying like I've seen that in a reading, like on TV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I'm asking if the spirit knows everything, if that's what they feel is the most blissful feeling ever, but when they come back here, they take on certain personality traits. Do they know enough to lead on us you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To better ourselves.
And I believe it's different for everybody though, Garrett, because what you need is completely different than what Keith needs. And
Right,
what
exactly.
Dean
Yes.
needs is different than what Steve needs. And
Yes.
so
yes.
our needs on this physical plane of existence are different.
Right.
So, I might get a reading that I might not be able to validate, but it was completely the message that I needed to hear.
For sure.
And it might not have been from the person that I was hoping to hear from.
Right.
But so at least see me scratching my head, but maybe for you, Garrett, that it kind of motivated you in a way that like, oh, I gotta go talk to my Mimi. And it's like I gotta and it creates a cause of an effect.
Yes.
That
Yes.
leads to greater things, right?
Oh man, that is like the best way to put it, Dean. I love how you kind of painted that picture, because after I had that experience, literally it was the weirdest thing in my head. I thought, oh, okay, so like if you're feeling that all the time, then when you came back here, you would want to make a difference.
Right.
Like you wouldn't want to come back here and just be like, yeah, okay, I wore a flannel shirt. Yeah. Like you would want to come down and use this amazing
opportunity.
Right. So like it goes back to, you said this a lot too. Like everything means something, right? So like I've noticed I've been hearing some weird noises since then, like at the house, and even Cass, like my sense of hearing has been heightened. And dude, from like being in the Army, and you were in the Army what you did way more than I did, but like I have bad hearing. Like and it's probably from just really blocking shit out. Like, everyone's talking shit around you all the time. So number of things that would lead to bad hearing in the Army, right? So, but I feel like over the last like 4 days, my hearing, like something will drop and it'll scare me. And Cass is like, hey, are you all right? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm hearing better or
your awareness is heightened,
or if I'm thinking I'm more dialed in to what does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about that where we said we get so busy of life that we're not paying attention to the things around us. And probably paranormal things are happening all the time to everybody, but they don't noticing it.
Right.
Remember the back when you were a kid, Garrett, and I don't know if you guys did it in your neck of the woods, but we, used to do a thing when I was a kid called slug bug, right? And remember the 70s era Volkswagen Beetle?
Absolutely.
We call those slug bugs, right? Anytime you saw you hit somebody in the shoulder, slug bug, no slugs back, right? All that. But what happens when you start looking for Volkswagens? You start seeing Volkswagen. Or maybe go back to your very first car. Before you bought it, you never saw one on the road. After you bought it, everybody's driving one. It's because now your awareness is on that. And so you're dialed in, on you're focused, on something. And that's the same with their hearing. But I would also counter with this as well, is that it can also mean that our vibration, our frequency can also, if you have this euphoric and this my come to Jesus moment, kind of like you did, Garrett, quite literally, right?
Yeah.
Why can't our vibration go up and go, oh my God, I felt all this love. Guess what? Our vibration goes up. What happens when our vibration goes up? We're able to connect to higher dimensions or higher realms.
For sure.
Easier to connect to spirit, hear, see all our clarity. Everything is heightened.
It's firing.
And not only that, but our physical senses too. And so you're starting to notice things in your physical environment through sight, sound, other things, but then also on a psychic realm and be like, holy crap, what's going on? Did I have, and people call what they call their spiritual awakening, or maybe a reawakening, or, a lot of other things. But I kind of use the, the slug bug analogy, or the, your first car analogy, because all of a sudden now it's got, you're focused. You're all eyes on me.
Yeah, you're not just looking at traffic.
Yeah, right. And so, Yeah,
Purpose.
it's interesting for sure, and it's so fascinating
It's
because
so
it's
fascinating.
different for everybody
Right.
and how they navigate that, what their experiences are. I think it's beautiful.
Or if they notice it.
I just love listening. I love listening to other people's stories. I think it's so cool.
There's somebody down here, but you need to connect your camera or microphone. It shows device not connected.
Pumpkin 777.
Pumpkin 777. Connect. You don't have to put your face on there, but you can connect. Oh, there they go off. So try again, Pumpkin 777. So Dean, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When do we know when to stop reincarnating? I mean, how good is good when we get to the other side?
Nirvana.
Because if not, we just keep going through this process. But eventually,
I'm so glad you asked this.
Don't we stop at some point?
I would think so. And I guess I can't be the expert and answer that because I'm here.
Right.
I chose.
You're Dean.
I chose to reincarnate. I chose to play the game again, right? And I think I was drunk. Or something. I was like, I'll go back. I'll go back. I'm good.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Send me.
Yeah. I do wonder though, if we, on the other side, if we just set crazy high goals for ourselves, and then we get down here and we're like, holy crap, I can't do this, or something, you know what I mean? I wonder, surely we're setting realistic goals on the other side because we would have all knowing, I would think. But I
don't get down here and say, feel disappointed in yourself though, because you forget immediately and you begin to rely on your better soul. Is the way I feel. Right?
Well,
my new and improved soul.
I would ask you though, Keith, in that for those people that feel like, okay, if I am reincarnating and I'm setting these goals, I feel like I'm not achieving them. And I would ask those people that feel like that, why do you feel that you're failing? Because it might not even be about the goal.
Right.
It's your egotistical 3D way of looking that as I failed at this goal. And maybe your soul, actually, maybe you at a soul level wanted to experience unconditional love or forgiveness or whatever deeper meaning. And so then you have these birth experiences that push you in this reoccurring cycle.
You're frozen. You're frozen.
Dude, he was going
frozen.
Oh,
yeah.
That was so good, too. I was trying so hard.
It became Dean the robot.
I was like pausing. I was like, I'm taking it all in.
Let me remove you and put you back on.
It's that energy he's got, dude.
Okay, you there, Dean?
Are we good?
The audio is a little choppy. And you're froze again.
Look what he did now. Bringing in all the energy.
Pushing too much. I'm pushing too much energy.
Dude, he was going.
Pull back the energy a little bit, Dean. Pull back.
He just closes his eyes.
Pull back
to focus.
Is it still
It's still frozen, yeah, and still a bit choppy.
Can you have audio, obviously?
I tell you what, try disconnecting completely and then hit your link again.
Okay.
See if that works. There we go. Okay.
Crazy conversation tonight.
I love these conversations, man. I could do a show every day about this because this is what, and especially when you get to that point where you have left time left than you do.
Yeah.
Because you start, I started thinking about this stuff when I was young and somewhat, but now, I'm not over the hill. I'm getting there, but yeah, those questions, I start wondering.
Well, I feel
things.
I feel so lucky to be in this position at this age, honestly.
There you are.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
He had to
live from another dimension.
He had to close his eyes and switch dimensions real fast.
Exactly. So if you don't mind saying it, everything you just said for the last 5 minutes.
You were going off. I was like, dang.
No, we pretty much heard. Some of it was cut off, but
I guess what I was trying to get at, the premise of it, I guess, guys, is that I was saying that, instead of looking at it from an aspect of people saying that they continually failing, is there a lesson, a deeper lesson within the failing of going, what lesson, why aren't we achieving what it is that we set about? And is it about learning something about, is it learning to be grateful? Is it learning about unconditional love? Those things versus, I get it that we didn't say become a millionaire or whatever the goal is, but it's, you know, maybe it's not about, and, you know, if you listen to a lot of self-help gurus, it's, you know, you never fail. It's just a learning event, right? And so if we look at it a little bit different, a little bit different angle, that's how I choose to look at it. And one of the other things that I have done is journeyed back to the Hall of Records, so to speak, if you've ever heard of doing this, and rewrite, you know, I can't even speak tonight. Akashic records and rewrite your book of going in there. Huh?
How did you do that?
I just went back and did it. It's not a big deal. It's not like you don't get in if you don't have your library card.
Oh, I thought you were talking about some sort of like past life regression type stuff.
Oh, no.
Because that's something I wanted to do.
I'm talking about, have you heard of Akashic? I'm mispronouncing the word.
I have not.
Record. So like, you know, the thought or belief that there is a Hall of Records that has everybody's book of all your lives and all your lessons that you ever wanted since the beginning of time to learn. And that's where your soul goes in a sense, and saying, I want to learn unconditional love. So then when you reincarnate, so the thing is you can go back in there and go, yeah, I'm really good. No, I'm good with unconditional love in this lifetime. I don't need to keep on playing the hamster wheel, right?
Understood. That makes so much more sense.
Because when we realize that we're so much more powerful, saying, why do I have to play this game? I don't. And so why can't I take control a little bit?
Right.
And so that's a way. And Keith, you asked a question about reincarnating. You know, I don't know if next time I will. You know, and saying, you know, I just might explore the universe or the, you know, the, whatever, the cosmos for eternity. You know, like, I don't know. Like, that's I guess that's between me and my soul that you know, I figured that out at when I cross over again.
I don't want to come back. I mean, it's not that I've had a bad life, but I mean, there's just so many things you face, so many things you have to worry about on a daily basis. And it's just like enough already, you know? And that's why I was wondering, like, God, what kind of goals did I set for myself? You know? But then I always, but one thing I have learned is like, now what I try to do is when something negative happens to me, I try to think, what can I learn from that?
Ooh,
that happened for a reason. Now let's learn from it. And so I think that's a good way of looking at it. Instead of saying, oh God, you know, I have bad luck all the time. I have bad luck all the time, blah, 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 which I think if you say that, you're going to attract it.
Oh, as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when those things do happen, that's why I try to say, okay, let's stop. Let's think about this. What can we learn from it? You know, what?
Well, for example, Keith, you know, talking about your back, you know, you had a lot of serious, very serious health complications, and trying to look at, you know, when people are in the midst of adversity, like when you were in the middle of it, you were flat on your back, deep in pain, you know, was there a moment that you could find anything to be grateful for?
Let me tell you something. I learned about loneliness. I learned about maybe I should go see my mom more. Maybe I should sit a little longer with my patients and talk with them. Because when you're laying there, and literally I was in bed for about 2 months. You know, wife goes to work. You're just there. You're lost in your thoughts, and it becomes very depressing and very, very lonely. And that's, you you know, and it made me think about my mom. I thought, oh God, you know, my mom's doesn't, you know, she's in a nursing home. She had a bad stroke, so she's got a lot of cognitive issues.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'm sure it's comforting for her for me to go see her. So that's encouraged me. That's one of the things I learned is, man, I can see like even anybody, any older person that anybody knows. I mean, even if you went and stopped by their house and sat with them for 15 or 20 minutes just to talk to them, man, I mean, when people would text me, Dean, I'd like, you know, or if someone was coming over, you know, just to come upstairs and visit with me for a little bit. It was so nice, but lonely, man, it's a bad place to be. And it scares me a little bit too, because I know at some point, there'll be a point when I may need to go to a nursing home, or, you know, I'm going to lose a spouse, or she's, you know, or I'm going to lose somebody and I'm going to be alone. And it's like, man, I hope my kids come and see me, you know? And so I had extreme guilt. I did get that a little bit because I thought, God, I've got to go see my mom more, you know? And then, like I said, it taught me to spend more time with people. We get in such a hurt. I mean, there's some selfish parts of us that we want to get done and go do what we want to go do. You know, okay, yeah, I talked to you. I got things to do. No, man, it's about sharing sharing your time with somebody.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how important that is.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I thought about too. Like I'm planning on retiring maybe in about 2 years. And I thought, man, I might go to nursing homes and just sit with folks and talk with them, or just something so they're not alone. Yeah. And that's what I learned from that experience.
What a beautiful gift.
For sure.
I mean, what a beautiful thing to get that perspective. I mean, I know that you were going through a tough time, but what a beautiful thing to be given that gift of clarity in that moment of going, whoa, because would you have had that clarity if you wouldn't have been in that scenario?
No, because I'm too busy in my own selfish person. I mean, I'm not selfish, but to a point I am. Yeah, I think we all are at some a little bit.
I think that's a testament to, and I think everybody would agree, but especially Dean, because we've talked so much. You have like such a big heart and you're a super smart guy. Like not everybody in that situation comes out with those perspective changes, right? Or those perspective boosts. So I think that's just a testament to who you are too, though. Like, I don't think everybody goes through that and necessarily has some groundbreaking thing that they understand more clearly about themselves, that they can now go forward and make an impact on others, right?
Well, that's one thing. Like even after I've discharged some of my patients, I'm in the same building, I still see them.
Right.
Normally I would have walked by their room and went to my next patient, but now I'll step in and go, hey, well, how's it going? How you feeling? Doing okay? You know, and just kind of talk with them a little bit and just let them know, hey, I'm still here. If you need me, just, you know, holler out. So yeah, I did learn that, Dean. So that was, maybe that was the reason I had that. I don't know.
It may be, you know, there's always a reason why, you know, and I, you know, as you were talking about sometimes how, you know, some things would never come to be if you didn't have the experience. And I was thinking about an audio book or audio piece. It was called Carnegie's Road to Riches, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was a CD series. It was a self-enrichment or self-help series. And basically in there, Carnegie talks about, and for those of you Think and Grow Rich, and he wrote this back in, was it 20s, 30s? And he talked about where people that are in difficult situations, that if they were never put in that situation, something beautiful or something tremendous would have never came out. And one of them was Jimmy Dean sausages.
Really?
Was back the original founder, Jimmy Dean, became what was it, incapacitated, and he couldn't move anything below his neck. I can't remember. He basically became kind of invalid, but out of his mind, he came up with breakfast sausages. And because he was a pig farmer, that's all he knew. He was a pig farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up with Jimmy Dean's breakfast sausage. And now everybody knows it. It's a national brand, right?
I love it.
And so, and out of that creation, because he had, he was put in a situation that he was forced, in a sense, if you want to use that word.
Yeah, he had two decisions.
Yep, he had a decision to make, or he had time to contemplate, like, what do I do? I can't do normal farming. Like, I got to do something different. Or like Keith, you talk about all this introspective reflection, and it gives you a deeper, clarity, so to speak, and be like, oh my God, like, I need to spend more time with people around me. I need to, whatever that is. And I think that goes back for all of us, is that I don't think we're selfish, but for the 98% of us or 99% of us, I think we just suffer from the human condition.
Right.
Yeah.
I really do, because a lot of times we're not going to change unless it's so uncomfortable, or the aspect of we don't have a lot of choices, and there's a very small percentage of people that embrace change, but if we take time every day to get quiet and focus, even if we're in the midst of adversity, and look at what's positive going right in our life, I think we can make some big, tremendous impact, not only for us personally, but the people around us and the rest of humanity. And that's why I kind of been doing, I think, am I on the 3rd year of this now? But every November, because everybody associates November, obviously, with Thanksgiving, everybody goes to gratitudes. And I was like, it should be an everyday thing, but I was like, I'm gonna start doing a one thing a day that I'm grateful for, and I'm gonna post that on social media.
How cool!
And I want, but it's not about. I mean, I can do that here, sitting in my office in my home, but the reason that I share it is to encourage others. Like, what are you grateful for?
Right.
Like, what are you? And maybe somebody's sitting at home going, "Shit, Dean, I don't know." Like, the car's broke. I got $20 in the bank, and there's half a piece of bologna sandwich in the fridge. Like, I don't know, but are you breathing? Do you have a roof over your head? Like, take baby steps if we need to.
Absolutely.
And we all have stuff going on, but.
Yeah, but it's so important to be grateful for. I mean, that's something I've learned too. Just like, man, I bitch about my property taxes, but it's like, you know what, I'll make right, but I'm going to be okay. And thank you, God, for I'm in a wonderful home. I've got a roof over my head.
Amazing son-in-law.
Yeah, amazing son-in-law. I do. I love this guy very much. So yeah, I totally agree with that. So and that's what I'm trying to do, is take all these negatives and trying to learn something from it, and to make it positive.
There's two sides to every pancake.
Well, like Susie says, I'm grateful I woke up this morning, right? So we're upright and vertical. Like, that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely, it is.
It's I love it.
I do too.
We can find something in every scenario that to be grateful for, and everything else. But
absolutely, and I find that when you do that, then good things happen usually.
Yep. You're attracting more positive things in your life.
Hey, this is going to be kind of a weird last question I have for you, but it's just kind of popped up in the last few minutes. The AAR, right? Like, after action review, when you're in the military, right?
Yep.
That's one thing I carried over to when we, like, how the way we run our business and our academy. So, like, after a game, right, we're constantly looking at the pros and the cons of the game.
Yep.
And so it's forcing people to constantly look in the positive direction. Do you suggest that becomes like practice? Do you think that that's good vibes, like a good way? Because, from this show, like with Keith, the one thing he took away is, like, when he's going through something, finding that positive thing. what you said about, asking people what they're grateful for, or stating what you're grateful for, and then with the hopes of people reflecting on that.
Right.
Is that like kind of the same idea though? Like looking not just at the negatives all the time, but coupling those positives in with it, looking at both sides of everything.
Yeah. So, it's kind of the aspect of exactly that. It's kind of like you think of Garrett leading by example, right? So, how am I going to sit there and preach like you need to live? And I'm like, you know what? Whether somebody does or doesn't always express their gratitudes to others or themselves or whatever, that's their own deal. But all I can do is what I can do and encourage others. And so I thought about it and I was like, it won't hurt me one bit to to actually sit for an entire month. And actually, what I would share is for those, let's see if here's my list right here. Because obviously I post them on social media, so I got to keep a list.
Right.
And so, right now I just went to number 10, right? But here's what's going to happen for most people. They're going to go through everything that is very blatantly obvious that you're grateful for. I'm grateful for whatever, right?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And then after a while, it's going to get hard because then you're like,
am I really
what
grateful
am I
for that?
grateful? And you can't read that. So the rules of the game are you can't repeat anything. You can't reuse like, oh, I'm on day 15. I'm going to use day 1. Like, like, oh, my family. Like, no. Like you used it once. That's it.
This is a deep reflection exercise.
Yes. And that's the idea, because you're going to go through all the obvious ones. And then it's like, ooh, now we're getting deep. Like what? And to make you think. And
it's kind of like the Jimmy Dean scenario where the guy couldn't move anything below his neck. So therefore, so essentially you're running out of things you're grateful for. You're painting yourself. You don't have very many things to pick. So you got to really start to reflect on like, am I even really grateful for that bag of Doritos that's waiting for me?
Well, and take that also like something I brought up a few months ago. Take a negative. Like for instance, had all my grandchildren at the house.
Yes.
They completely messed my whole house up. I'm down there vacuuming.
I love that story.
Yeah, I was vacuuming up Skittles and stuff. And I thought, wait a minute.
Kids.
I thought, no, you know what? I'm grateful because I've got beautiful grandchildren and I'm happy to clean up after them.
Thank God.
Because a lot of people would love to have grandchildren and I have them.
Right.
And I cherish them. And so it's like, I was vacuuming. I was all happy. I was like, this is wonderful. And it's worth every bit of it.
Right. You don't have to be happy the fact that, there's Kool-Aid stains in the carpet. But the thing is you're exactly right, Keith, is that, finding the positive within something like your kids or your grandkids, like, oh my God, I am so grateful, for, and sometimes I have been mad at my kids, but I'm like, I love my kids. Like, I'm mad about maybe their actions. I don't approve of their actions, but at the same time, like, like I just reiterating in that moment of what I am grateful for, even though it sounds like I'm,
for sure.
It's like I'm trying to change my energy.
For sure.
But so we're all human. I mean, that's
I
so
met
cool.
Keanu Reeves once.
So Susie's grateful for Keanu Reeves.
Now that's one you can repeat.
Now that's just just selfish right there.
Right.
No. He's awesome, man. I love him.
You met him, you said.
Yep, Austin, Texas. Cass was with me.
Really?
We were at a wedding. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Someone was like, dude, is that Keanu Reeves smoking a cigarette? And I was like, yeah. And we just went over. I was like, what's up, Keanu? He's like, what's up, guys? We sat there and chatted. Yeah, he's stellar.
That's
stellar.
It's funny you said it because I read something about 2 weeks ago that someone met him and said he's the most down to earth guy.
Chilled out.
He was like a normal human being.
There was a Grand Prix, like a motorcycle race downtown. He super into that. So
nice.
Hey, Susie, well done.
Well done, Susie.
That's a good one to be grateful for.
Yes. Well, Dean, we will let you go. And I want to thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dude.
It's ratings week for us. That's the reason we had you.
Yeah.
All right. That's all right.
We're so
happy.
happy.
That's all right, guys.
It's always
anytime. I love being on. I love chatting with you guys. Love you both, and wish you
you too,
nothing
man.
but success.
We love you too, man. You're your favorite guest. Don't tell anybody that.
Don't tell the others.
All right, well, Dean, we'll see you later, and we'll stay in touch, and let's do that thing next year, man.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah, for sure. We'll come down your neck of woods, and we'll raise holy hell.
Hell
Absolutely.
yeah, sounds good, brother. All right, good night, Dean. Good night.
That was
fun,
man.
He's so fun to have on, man.
He's so smart
and he's so cool.
Yeah, down to earth, huh?
Very. Oh yeah,
dude. Our shows with him, I would love to go back and listen to the series.
What do you mean?
Well, we've just
we've had him on.
We've grown so much spiritually, though. Like that's such an awesome subproduct of like doing this on a weekly basis.
It's cool. It's cool. It's what a fun thing to do.
Yeah, and our conversations have just gotten better with him.
And that's the other thing. When I do retire, I think I'll just throw myself real heavy into this too.
Yeah,
and
we'll be doing the live show by then.
Yeah, see, I'm really, you really got me hyped about that.
It's huge
because you've got, you got more knowledge than I do about. I know nothing about marketing or how to put that together and all that.
It's just gonna come together.
But that's gonna be.
It's the dream.
What
team.
a fun, yeah. I mean, and maybe like if I retire, let's say a year or 2 years, we can do 3 or 4 events a year or something, man.
Dude, and they're gonna. And the good thing is like they're helpful. Like these are events are gonna be so, and a lot of people.
That's what's really cool. It's not even like, I do the Beatle. I used to do the Beatle thing. Yeah. Do the Elvis thing. That's entertaining, making people happy. Yeah. But with what we're going to be doing, I think we're going deeper.
Yes.
Deeper.
Well, can you imagine
people think
like you could, like when we went to the serial killer thing, me and Cass, the one we picked apart and was like, dude, life after life would kill us. No pun intended. But they had a huge fishbowl, and you could drop questions in there. And I told Cass, how cool it would be is when you come to the Life After Life show, everyone's dropping in so you can get picked for maybe it's a reading, or if we could get Kelly down here, God willing, a couple dream interpretations on stage. I mean, that would be so fascinating, dude. Like everybody.
Carl Johnson.
Carl Johnson. Yes, absolutely. Famous demonologist. I mean, there's something there to be had, though. I think that people would love to ask questions. It's something that's innately in all of us. That's why that story that I told you guys, it resonates with people, because everyone's like, oh, dude, I had an experience once, so it's crazy. I can't wait, Keith. I'm so happy you started. I'm grateful for this show.
I'm grateful for the show, and I'm grateful for every one of you guys who,
and our beautiful studio.
Yeah.
That we've just built.
Yeah. It's really there. No. Anyway, we will see you guys next week. Good night. We love you. We're grateful for you guys, like Garrett said, and peace out.
Bye.
Bye.